Previously on Prison Break.
I didn't kill that man, Michael.
The evidence says you did.
I was set on.
Put down your weapon!
I find it
Fibonacci. I give you that information, I'm a dead man.
I'm Paul Scheuring, creator, executive producer of Prison Break. I'm here with Dominic Purcell, who plays Linc and Burrows, and Wade Williams, who plays Bellick. And we're watching 103, which is actually the 4th episode of the year.
They've never mentioned what happens to the toes.
Well, we actually scripted a few scenes where, you start the scene by him looking at the nub of his foot, and we're very much cognizant of it, but it keeps slipping through production, so you never really see him with missing 2 digits.
What's going on? Let's go, Lincoln, on your feet. Move! Back! Come on, move it! Back!
There's Wade Williams, who his on-screen demeanor is terrifying, kind of like an evil William Shatner.
Yes.
But in person, he is just about the biggest sweetheart you'll ever meet. So he's one of those game face guys where, as soon as the clock starts and you hit the field, he's the meanest mother effer out there. But then...
you meanest motherfucker.
Yeah, my grandma might be watching this.
Thanks, man.
We wanted to make it very kind of visceral and terrifying in terms of, kind of how primitive electrocution is, and it's just freaky. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, a lot of the when they approached me about this scene, they wanted to know if I wanted to sit in the real chair. I said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." You know what? You go back, you make a chair. They wanted me to sit in the real chair.
Did they show you the real one?
Yeah, man, I went and did a lot of research on this stuff. Went to Statesville, which is a maximum security prison, and
They brought it over to the set.
I saw the chair. I saw.
Did you touch it?
I saw lots of chairs. Yeah,
Look at that
touched,
shot. I love this
touched-
shot right
touched.
here. Look at that, man. That is just a great shot.
My performance in here is extraordinary, especially with the bag over my head.
Look at that. Look at the breath.
Yeah.
Ooh!
Gets it.
But it was only a dream. Thank God.
Thank God he's still alive.
Still get another paycheck.
Dun, 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 what just happened to me?
I like that, though. That's, again, Dominic with his minimalist performance that I really like. It's just...
Yeah.
Because there's a great kind of awareness that an actor has that an audience is experiencing all the drama that you are, too. So you don't have to over-emote because they're already on the ride with you,
Exactly. There's Wentworth with his 5-hour tattoo.
Yep.
Takes forever.
You should be around him when that tattoo is being put on, ladies and gentlemen. He is a very happy camper.
Said sardonically. Hurry up, Michael. Get that back.
Oh, jeez.
Whoop, hip.
Oh, jeez, who's
Here
that?
he is.
Now, this is amazing.
Now, this guy, he is so funny.
Silas Mitchell.
Love him.
We've done, the very first movie I ever did, Silas and I did together.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that called?
It's called Route 9.
Route 9.
With Kyle MacLachlan, Peter Coyote.
Damn.
First movie I ever did. He's great.
Silas. This is just his episode. I mean, he's just sensational. This is great. He becomes fascinated with the tattoo.
What?
Your tattoos.
What about them?
And Haywire is an example of a character that you think is a one-and-out character, but we had always had the plan that he would become very critical to Michael's plan later in the season. So, again, even when we had him appear here in episode 103 and he disappeared for the next 12 episodes or 13 episodes, we knew he was coming back. And his performance certainly didn't hurt. When you get an actor that comes in and brings a wood like this, when you get an actor that shows up and just absolutely just is superlative like that, then you just can't wait to get them back for another show. And Silas, again, you kind of make your own luck as an actor sometimes where you're so good that they got to bring you back,
Yeah. To keep me dull. To keep me in their invisible freaking handcuffs.
Freaking. I think freakin's only said on television. I don't think it's ever been said.
Man, I was watching some crappy movie the other night, and it was like, freaking, you son of a witch. I mean, really.
But that's all looped in after, right?
It is.
That's like the PG version.
You son of a witch.
You son of a witch.
You know what was fascinating to me? It was so hot this summer that the grass all turned brown.
Yeah.
So they had to go paint it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the production of Prison Break was really kind of challenging because we, basically shot around the course of the entire year. So in Illinois, you have these optimum times of shooting in the spring and fall when the weather is really nice, but the summer is like, the heat is just like an anvil. It just punishes you. And then in the winter, you have just this,
So what's going on here, Paul? We're flashing back, and this is the beginning of Michael's plan, right?
Yeah, this is one of the many pieces, and Cute Poison is kind of the riddle that we do, because he puts everything in his tattoo in code so that no one else could, ever know what it means. And it's kind of the structure of our show a lot of the time, that we want to set up the riddle and let the audience have a little fun in discovering what it actually is, right?
And guys, didn't I say there was a problem?
And here's Peter, and he hasn't washed his hair in about 3 weeks at this point.
Haywire?
Yep. It's my new cellmate.
That's a problem.
He doesn't sleep.
So when do you dig?
I don't.
Hey, you and I are in bed now. You made me...
Peter is from Sweden originally, and in casting him, the idea was that we didn't want to just get some stock actor that just plays the Goomba Italian mob boss, because we've seen that before, ad nauseum. So we wanted to bring in somebody that had presence, but kind of an original, kind of foreign vibe, and Mr. Stormare certainly has that. There we go. I just heard the techno remix of the song, by the way, that they got over in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty great, man. It's
Is it?
It's the dance club track. It's pretty badass. Wade Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me.
You having fun on Prison Break, Wade?
I'm having a great time. Get to wear polyester.
Maybe I don't need to know anymore. Again, these aerial shots always give scope to our series.
Yep.
At this point, the Taj Mahal room, which originally in the pilot was shot on location in the prison, became a set. So this is now a set. Whenever we go to the Taj Mahal for the rest of the series, it's a set.
Listen, I have to say, I really appreciate all the...
Isn't Stacy fantastic to work with?
He's the best, man. He's inspiring.
He was in American History X the other night. I
Yeah, he was the
looking
head
through
Nazi.
that, and I was like,
Isn't that
geez,
crazy?
it's Stacy.
Didn't he have no mustache?
No mustache.
Stacy Keach without a mustache. It's just like, I don't know, man.
It's like Magnum without a mustache.
Yeah, just...
Tom Selleck.
Yeah, Tom Selleck's always good. He played Eisenhower, by the way. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either. No offense, Tom.
No, yeah, I mean...
We love you, man.
Yeah.
Do they know who they're casting for Magnum? Has that been worked out? Are they filming Magnum?
I don't think they got a script yet.
Really? George Clooney would make a wonderful Magnum.
Oh, they're doing a movie of it.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Dominic Purcell would be even better.
Who's he?
Oh, some schmuck.
You got to grow the afro, though.
Yeah.
personality. It's not exactly sandals out there.
Here's Becky.
She's funny.
Yeah, she's great. And she was another actor who really did a nice job for us, and we kind of folded her into some later storylines, particularly her affair that she has with Lewis, which is really...
Hilarious.
That's some good stuff.
That's what I like about this show, is that everybody, all the characters, have so many different little things going on with them.
Yeah.
They're not just like one level,
The thing that I'm really impressed with Prison Break is that every clue is answered. We see where it comes from. Everything's answered, and it's very, very clever.
Yeah, and that comes from preparation, and there's very little that's not, anticipated in the storyline. From these very early episodes, we know how it's going to pay off later in the season, and actually in season 2 as well. I've talked to a lot of other showrunners on other shows like this, and you get the impression they're just flapping their wings where, they're in episode 14 and they have no idea what's going to happen in episode 16. And that was never the case with Prison Break.
Absolutely.
We always knew the end game of this thing.
How come? What made you decide to do it that way? Instead of by the seat of your pants kind of TV?
Well, I came out of features, and, the features, a close-ended story, and that's kind of the only way I've known to tell a story, which is you got to know what the end is before you start.
Now, people may be noticing why Lincoln is shrinking in size. I get asked this question all the time. You're so big, man, and then they see me in real life. You're so skinny, dude. Like, well, this is the deal. Just after the pilot, I had just done a couple films, and they wanted me to be really buffy. This is me right here, playing weight, 175, ladies and gentlemen.
175, really?
175, 180, not 250. People think I am.
You play 250 on screen, man.
Yeah.
You're still a big boy, though.
Yeah.
You're not. You're like, what are you, 6'2" or something?
6'2", yeah. It's funny, yes, in the airport, this guy goes, "You're the guy from Prison Break, right?" I said, yeah. Man, you're skinny, man. In real life.
But you're not skinny, though.
They say, hey, you're fatter. I thought you were fatter.
I thought you were fatter.
And when I'm walking through the halls, they just go, "Who are you?"
Here I am, acting my ass off again. You can actually see the acting helmet right there.
He shrugged. You see that? Like the shoulders went up?
Yeah.
All they handle is death penalty cases.
All they handle is death penalty cases.
Again, here's a situation where an actor's got to give you a lot of exposition, and it's just not the favorite
She
thing.
was wearing blue, he was wearing black.
Yeah.
It is. You know, exposition's hard, and I learned to do that with John Doe. God, the amount of verbal diarrhea I spilled in that show.
You know, it's interesting also, unless it's a complete soap opera, so many TV shows are just exposition, man. It's just,
dude, I know.
we went to the crime scene and there was a dead body, and in the dead body's hand was a red rooster.
I know, and that's what we were touching on before. You know, if you have actors that can convey emote without words, it's better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're just very fortunate that every actor on Prison Break is exceptionally talented.
Yeah. I just think...
Exceptionally.
And I know that, you know, in general, there's all these platitudes. You know, there's all these platitudes that are thrown around whenever people are talking about the productions they're involved in, and the audience, when you hear them, you tend to just think that's a bunch of BS, that people are self-serving and it's just PR. But in the case of Prison Break, you know, we have this group of actors that are awesome, man. And I've been involved in things where the actors aren't so awesome, and it doesn't work. That's the cog that makes the engine run, and so we're psyched. And they're all very, very different, too, which is cool, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them have short hair, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of one of the themes, I think, of the show.
The theme, yes. It's a yeah.
Makeup.
It's about as deep as our show is, right? I love this scene, man.
The Latin Brando, ladies and gentlemen.
This guy's great.
Wednesday, babe. We're gonna come around today, right?
It was raining on this day. Kind of spotty. Didn't help with continuity, you know. We'd be shooting, and 15 minutes later the sky would be sunny. And you got to edit this all together in post-production, you know. And makes it very, very challenging.
What I like about this show is...
Shower scenes?
The shower scenes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think you should have more shower scenes.
Yeah. And why is he wearing a towel?
Why is he wearing a towel?
All right.
You know, in the pilot, didn't we shoot one of those, the induction scene?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, without the underwear?
That's right.
Yeah, that was a rat in her ass shot scene.
That was my favorite scene in the show, I think.
Well, that says something about you, Wade.
Oh, you know.
Putting him in with Haywire is a low blow, Deputy.
What? The shrink's cleared Haywire for re-entry into Gem Papa's size.
There's a redneck.
He's like a kitten these days.
You're great, man.
Give Schofield preferential treatment, it'll undermine your credibility.
I got a cool story. You know the story about Bellick's hat?
Yeah, I was gonna say something about that. Why don't you tell us about that hat?
When we were shooting the pilot, this guy named George, who's a real CO from Stateville, was helping kind of explain what we would do during the induction scene where everybody gets inducted into the prison. And everybody else was wearing a kind of a regular baseball cap.
Just the boring CO hat.
And he had this hat like this, which is like a military,
right.
I think it's a Marine cap, because George was an ex-Marine, an ex-jarhead. And he was wearing this hat that he'd made. He'd cut the patch out of his jacket and glued it onto the hat, and Brett Ratner and I were like, that's a cool hat. And so we said, can we use it? He goes, sure. So boom, that was Bellick's hat, right off the guy's head, right onto mine.
And that's one of those neat little happenstances that Forward makes this kind of iconic and unique, because, you know, that hat is Bellick in a lot of ways. And that was all just kind of an on-set decision, you know. It was like, oh, that's a cool hat. Can we have it?
And I'd like to add further to the hats thing. Wade has this tick, this little, you have this thing going on before each scene. He says, my hat's straight. My hat's straight.
Is my hat straight? I always say it with an English accent, too.
Yeah, because Wade's married to an English lady.
Yeah.
Because my hat feels straight, but it's crooked. And so I have to ask people whether it's straight or not.
I think your eyes are crooked. That's all.
Well, she made a decision, man. She decided she needed stability.
Is she gonna get that from you?
Look, you can think whatever you want about me.
It's a great scene, too.
Oh, I love... What's Hector's real name? I've worked with him. He's a great
Caceres
guy.
is the last name. I can't remember the first name. He's great. He went to Sacramento State.
Did he really?
Shout out to the Hornets. Yeah. And generally when Sucre gets mad or emotional or whatever and he starts going on in Spanish, that's just the actor just doing whatever he wants, and he's always so good at it, and we certainly don't try to write that dialogue for him.
He cracks me up.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Watch this little thing. That's also his thing. I guess that's a Puerto Rican, like, F you or something. He does it a few times in the series, and I mean, it seems to mean different things. It's kind of like saying, dude. He can be used a lot of different ways, you know?
Make it quick.
Now, this is an example of a scene where the photography really matters, the way that it was shot. And
now, by this point, Dante's not around anymore.
No, Dante's not around anymore.
This is,
and the way the scene is staged, it seems like he's just going for a walk down a supermarket hallway, and we wanted it to be a lot smaller of a scope of a room, but there was a miscommunication between the producers and the production. So you get this idea that you can just cruise around a prison and, you know, just take whatever you want. And it was a real struggle for us to edit this scene because it just didn't feel like it was a high-security facility. But then here comes Bellick, of course.
You're in love with Schofield. I mean, that's what's going on, right?
There's something about him.
Well, that was, that's the deeper myth here. We are drawing from a lot of Greek plays in which the CEO in the Greek plays falls in love with the hero.
It's unrequited love, though.
Yes, unrequited love. And you know at one point he's going to fly the coop.
Oh, by the way, how's the foot?
Hey, there's a reference to the foot.
That's true.
Yeah. God, I love that game face. Just dead serious and scary.
He doesn't do anything. I mean, have a look at his head in real life. I mean, it's a brick. You are the brick with eyes, man.
Well, I'm looking across at both of you guys right now as a couple of walking brickheads.
Oh yeah. Man.
I don't mean that in terms of intellectual capacity. I'm talking about the sheer scope and strength of your head.
We got so many melon heads.
Oh,
we do.
So many melon heads.
The cranial
just got fucking
a huge
head.
cranium.
The cranial CCs in the show is shocking. Look at him.
I crap myself once.
Silas.
What did he say? I shat myself?
Yeah, I crap myself. You can't say. I don't think shat would make it past S&P.
I walked past a bunch of the other students to, get back to the locker room.
But again, these are little insert shots, and we're trying to mislead the audience here to think that Michael's going to poison him.
Before anyone else did. So I turned around behind me.
And again, we shot this on a set, small little set. Matt Earl Beasley directed this episode. He came back and directed 108. A very funky dude. Looks like Randy Quaid with a rock and roll wig on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool dude.
You know who does a great imitation of him?
Silas is just great.
He cracks me up. Peter Stormare, get him to do his Matt Earl for you.
That'd be great. Oh, watch this. Is this the Stu Gatz line?
Or with the digging.
Yeah, listen to this.
No.
Peter got this wrong, God bless him, but he got it wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Right here.
Problem is, you don't got the Stugats.
That's not what that means.
What is it? What does it mean?
I believe Stu Gatz is like, you got nothing, but he's using it as a euphemism for cojones,
Right.
He's like, you don't got the nothing.
It sounded pretty good, though.
Yeah, and so when that came across our desk in the writer's room, we were just like, oh, God, how can we even use this, The East Coast Mafia is going to lynch us. I love this right here. Watch this.
Wrap it up. How about Aunt Ruth? Is she out of the hospital yet? Wrap it up. Hold on, Ma. Bite me.
Just the delivery of that line, he had come in for one day to play this role that he'd bump into Sucre at the phone, and we really liked him, so we brought him back in later episodes to play the character Trokey, who is actually named after my personal assistant, Christian Trokey.
I meant to ask you, man, what's going on? I mean, Silas, he's got to come back season 2, man.
Silas?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. No, we've got a whole arc for him.
Fantastic.
He goes over the wall with you on 121.
Yeah, cool.
Remember? Don't you remember?
I remember. Well, yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning the other night.
Now, again, when I was talking about continuity and how the weather was very spotty, we were shooting all these sequences right here, Sucre's side of the phone call, on that same day that we saw the earlier shot, right, where he was on the phone and it was raining. Now it's sunny, as you'll notice, which is okay as long as it's just this scene. But again, it just gives you an idea. A lot of the challenges in filmmaking is that a lot of things are beyond your control sometimes in terms of quality control, and one of them is weather.
Look, there's just so many things.
And, you know, in the editorial process, one thing you really learn is the value of music. You know, you cut the whole thing together first without music, and you look at it and you think it's okay, but it sure seems flat. Then when you drop in these little scores from, it just adds so much dimension. I mean, it's just, music is absolutely crucial to drama.
It is.
And we always try to have their story be a little bit sweet, you know.
Well, they've got to be meant for each other, don't they?
They're both not the sharpest tools in the tool shed, you know?
They're meant for each other.
She's worried that her clock's ticking and she's not even 30, you know?
In 16 months. Te lo prometo, mi amor.
Again, there's some Spanish improvisation, which is always just gives so much authenticity. It's great.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
She does such a nice job.
Wait, hello?
Amaury says when people meet him on the street, they just hug him and kiss him and stuff.
Yeah, they do. He's everyone's best friend.
If Barris turned up again, her testimony would be worthless. By and large, most junkies...
This is the introduction of Nick, who's played by Frank Grillo. Just love this guy. He reminds me of kind of somewhere between like Pacino and Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, right.
Although it just came to light that the writer's room, they brought in a Abs of Steel video that I guess he made about 8 or 10 years ago.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Frank, busted, buddy.
Yeah.
Frankie.
But I like the choice here to shoot this way because Nick doesn't say anything really in this scene. And we're favoring him the whole time, but then when we shoot through the Forshit character, you see Nick hovering there in the background out of focus, and he's kind of in focus there.
It does look like Pacino, man.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
He's a really good actor.
Well, he's all right.
He's no Dominic Purcell.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
But of course, if Nick was in the room right now, I would say he's way better.
Of course you would.
All of the legwork, Mr. Forsyth, but since I don't have any experience in death
And Robin does a real nice job here.
to point me in the right direction. Please.
I'm sorry.
I love that shot right there.
We just don't have the manpower.
I think the DPs and the camera guys, the camera operators, have done a great job on this.
Amazing.
show.
Amazing.
It looks great.
Looks like a film every time. And one of the things that Chicago provides for us is one of the reasons we went, obviously, to Illinois was for Joliet, because the prison itself was just so crucial to the visual scope of this show. But then, you know, outside the walls, we had to film in Chicago, and we try to get outdoors as much as possible because you just get a very original look to the show, because generally a network television show looks pretty much like Los Angeles or a soundstage. And Chicago's got so many looks, so unique, and just visually Prison Break looks, you know, unlike any other show. And there's so many components to that look, starting with the cinematographers to location scouts, that kind of stuff. It's just really great.
Have you seen my toothpaste? It was right here.
Haven't seen it.
I always put it in the same place.
Sure, it'll turn up.
That's a great shot.
The hills of eyes.
I love this scene. Again, it's a scene where it's camera move, some music, minimalist acting, and no dialogue, and it just speaks. There's so much emotion in it, you know?
Not to mention Abs of Steel.
Abs of Steel, yeah. And a perfect picture. But again, not a word of dialogue in that scene.
Look at Amaury's head. He's got a big melon, too.
Oh, he's got a lot of CCs going. This is a great scene. How do you like to be locked in a box with this guy?
I love this when Wentworth does this. It's really super intense.
Yeah.
There's a maze. Get away from me.
I think Wentworth is just an incredible actor. He's very unusual in that he reminds me a lot of, well, he has that quiet, focused energy, a bit like Steve McQueen and these kind of guys, you know. Very kind of unique in today's kind of acting landscape.
By all means, I think he's pretty much the most unique face and persona I've seen in a long, long time.
Absolutely.
And I mean, just the fact that he got nominated for a Golden Globe after just 13 episodes.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that's huge.
It is huge.
It takes a lot of guts to do what he does, which is not do anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't show you anything.
Yeah.
And he trusts that it's going to come through. And a lot of actors, and myself included, I have to struggle with that.
Yeah.
Making sure that I don't, like...
Yeah, because you're a ham, man. But Wentworth is just totally...
Let's talk about that a little bit. So, you know, maybe if you're a little bit uncomfortable and uncertain as an actor, you might be more inclined to act too much?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're not... You just have to trust yourself.
Right.
And know that you don't have to, especially with the camera work these guys are doing with the...
Is that what you do as an actor? You kind of ham it up when you're, you know, when you don't know what's going on? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I mean...
I can see that, certainly.
I go the other way, man. If I don't know what I'm doing, I just shut down and just kind of...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just like, boom, do as little as possible to escape the claws of the critics.
Well, I think that's really edifying, you know, that you guys have two very disparate ways of doing that, because I know a lot of actors out there, you know, aspiring actors watching the show would be very curious to kind of hear your different methodologies.
But I admire Wentworth, and actually, Dominic, you do the same. You're just very
good, man.
Understated.
I was fishing for that, and you finally came through it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Oh.
Give me my $20 now.
All right.
He's already been paying me a bunch.
Does it matter?
Did you actually see him washing the pants or not?
Yes. He stood up, turned around, his hands were all wet, looking guilty as hell.
Your testimony factored in.
Yeah, I think their eyes are the same color.
They are. Abs of steel. Sorry, buddy, we're going to throw that in every time you come on screen.
And the poor guy has to wear these just terrible outfits because he's playing this public defender, and the idea is that he's not a rich lawyer, but a man that really believes in what he's doing. And so, you know, it's worth talking about costume design because it's pretty easy to design costumes for the prison because there's not a whole lot of disparity between the different prisoners. Although, what was interesting in researching the pilot, we found out that even though there's a dress code, prisoners find different ways to always look different. You know, one guy's got his shirt sleeves, you know, long. Another guy's got
buttoned up.
2 layer, buttoned up exactly. Shirt tucked in, shirt tucked out, something tied around their head. It's just, you know, even in an institution like this, you have to have your individuality. And the costume designers were very keen to that, and I think that helps our show as well.
Yeah, I was dark on all that because Lincoln, at the beginning of the whole thing, you just saw him in that gray, terrible suit. Everyone got to look really cute and handsome in their little blue shirts.
Yeah, but we wanted him to be a different beast. We never wanted him to feel like he was part of the general population. He was kind of this regal kind of, you know, king. A fallen king was always kind of the idea of Lincoln, that he would never descend to the level of the general prisoner.
What stood out for me was...
Again, Chicago production value here. We could have done this scene in a boring set somewhere with 2 walls behind them.
Forget about it.
And instead, we shoot through them with that massive sky screen.
Now, does that cost more to do that on location?
Well, I mean, it does cost a little bit more, but not as much as you would think. And, you know, the cheapest thing, of course, is to shoot everything inside of a bunch of sets, but...
Can't do that. I mean, you just lose the authenticity of... And, you know, it's just... brings a different fucking energy and atmosphere to the show if you just start doing that. I think that's one of the great things about Prison Break is that it has that very, you know, filmic look. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want to keep going into sound stages and stuff.
Yeah, I always wince when I see the soundstage shots, you know?
Yeah, me too.
I think it's great that we're here in Chicago because even if we went to L.A. and shot it like it was in Chicago, you still subconsciously, you've seen all of those places a million times in a million television shows. Here, you're really seeing the same thing, and it looks great. The light's different here than it is in Los Angeles. It's just great.
My father did 15 years for a crime he didn't commit.
Now, these two people, Robin and Frank, have the toughest row to hoe, in my opinion, as actors in this series. Lincoln's a close second. I'll get into that in a minute. But basically, all these people do is talk about exposition for the whole show. Oh, I found this out. I found this out. You mean this means this? Look at this. And that's very, very hard for an actor. And then for Dominic, most of his scenes he's locked in a box. And just imagine being an actor for a whole season where you're, locked in a box the whole time.
Look at Silas.
God bless that guy.
Go, Silas.
This is a good scene.
Van Gogh over there is my new cellmate. I'll do what's necessary.
You're my boy.
You're my boy. Again, they're the odd couple. Michael doesn't show a lot of emotion. Sucre wears it all on his sleeve. Stock shot. At this point, this character was known as the Garlic Cutter.
Schofield's father was out of the picture by the time he was born.
Supposed to be the mystery woman behind this entire conspiracy. But we started getting the dailies back, and in the script, it's the lines are slugged for the Garlic Cutter, and she's cutting peppers.
Right.
So that kind of never worked out for us. But I think it looks really nice, and the red bespeaks danger.
All due respect.
Yeah, subliminal.
Right. A knife with a bunch of red around it. Come on. Look at that. It looks like guts.
Do it preemptively before anything rises.
Now, Paul Adelstein and I were in the Michael Mann movie Collateral together.
Really?
We were Fed number 2 and Fed number 3. I was Fed number 2. He was Fed number 3.
I didn't know Paul was in that.
If you're really close, if you look really close with a microscope, you might be able to see us.
This is just great. And now the fun and games starts to get worse. We start to realize that this guy's really a problem. Oh,
that hurts.
Oh. And that's one thing we try to do in Prison Break is kind of make characters make uncomfortable choices to kind of get out of situations.
Open up on 40.
He's got the pathway.
This is great. I love this.
Back off, Haywire.
Oh, look.
When they give him the hot shot, watch this.
Haywire, I said back off. You want a hot shot?
I'm telling you, look at it.
Oh, the fact that 3 men in the room sit and watch that and just laugh their asses off. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Now, in writing this script, he's supposed to step out and his face is supposed to be covered in blood, as it would be if you split your eyebrow there. Yeah. But again, there was a miscommunication there. We saw the dailies. We're like, where's the blood? But in general, when you have movies and TV shows, they're very leery of making the protagonist look less than pretty, So all the wounds are always less than they can be.
Wentworth doesn't have that problem.
Told you not to go around me in the Poe. Well, you just keep making waves, don't you?
Bellick, you really do like this guy.
Watch this. This is all improvisation here.
Back, man. Good to have you back.
This whole bit right here. And I think that was a function of these two guys and kind of their different backgrounds, because Amaury was, street, grew up in the streets of Puerto Rico, and Wentworth went to Princeton, and so those two guys don't always shake hands the easiest. Also, the idea with this was that we were going to have extraordinarily small toothpaste tubes, but he's got these huge things here that are just massive. And just like, they're really easy to sneak around a prison.
Good afternoon, Mr. Schofield.
Hello.
One of the things that's really interesting...
Sarah. The beautiful Sarah.
But one of the interesting things about TV show production that I found is I've worked on a lot of features in which, you have 60, 80, 90-day shoots, and you can get things right. But on a TV show, you have 8 days, and it's got to get done. You got to shoot basically half of a movie in 8 days. And basically, you can't get it wrong. It's a high-wire act. And so everything that you get back basically needs to work. It needs to work logically. The weather's got to be good. The performances have got to be there as actors. The writing's got to be there. And then you edit it all together at the end. You got to put it on screen sometimes a week later, 2 weeks later it gets to air. So the fact that any TV show, let alone a complex one like Prison Break, makes any sense at all with any amount of quality is just a minor miracle, and it's a testament to everybody involved, because I just cannot believe that the high level of quality that we have in Prison Break with these 8-day shoots. I mean, it's just amazing.
That amazes me too, the way they can.
It's really amazing. It's really
and
amazing.
we have to give credit to the crew on Prison Break. I mean, these guys work their asses off.
Well, you know, too, that
they're just amazing.
They're movie guys, all these guys.
Yeah, they are.
All they've done is movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, one of the reasons why it looks so great and moves so well.
Absolutely.
And they're really, really good.
And, these flashbacks, I certainly would have liked to made a little more cinematic. I don't like this 6-frame kind of slow motion like that stuff. But again, this is something where you just got to get it done and you crank right through it.
How would you make it different cinematically?
I'd spend a lot more time lighting it and, this is an artificial slow motion, and I said 6 frames earlier. I'm incorrect about that. It was all done post-production, right? And whenever you do something post-production, if you don't do it slow motion in the camera, it has that jerky kind of silly kind of. It looks like those America's Most Wanted or whatever, when they do the the reenactments and the cheesy actors and all that stuff.
Speaking of a cheesy actor,
who, Dominic or
Dominic?
No way. Not a lot of cheese in this show. The interesting thing about this show is that conceptually it's kind of a big concept. It's kind of like a graphic novel in terms of a concept.
Oh, absolutely, man.
But the interesting thing is that all the actors are really good and they play it really straight, so it makes it feel real and good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wentworth commented at the beginning of the series, he kind of likened it to a dark comic book, like a cartoon. Everything peels away and we really get a real feel and sense for the characters.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? Or was I just blubbering?
Oh, you're just blubbering.
I think so.
Wade just woke back up.
That one just died in the ass, went nowhere. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at Sucre. He's a good lookout. He just comes back and hangs out.
If the chemicals can't eat through the iron pipes, how come they can't eat through the toothpaste tube?
This is, again, one of those exposition scenes where it's totally worthless, but you turn the script into the network and they say, I think we need to explain why the acid doesn't eat through the toothpaste tube.
And as an actor, when we have to spill out that expositional bullshit, it's really, really hard to do. And it really is. And the only way you can get through it is to kind of drive through it. It's like what I was saying before with Ratner. When Brett gave me that note about driving through stuff, and I really took that on board, and, you just say it and get it over and done with. I mean, if you really invest in the expositional stuff, it can bite you in the ass.
Yeah, you just have to get to the end of it.
Yeah.
But also, I think, Wentworth certainly does a good job of it, and it's that you just pick little spots to kind of humanize it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it really helps you.
Make some noise.
This is a nice little sequence right here.
Oh, yeah.
Have some faith, papi.
It's so charming. So charming. We had a tough time editing this because that was a 3-wall set there, and Wentworth was kicking the back wall, and it's basically just made of, wood and 2x4s, and every time he kicks it, the entire wall is shaking. And so we had to do a lot of it with sound effects and find a few good spots like that, But basically, it was very, very hard to edit together. Listen to Sucre. Here comes Bellick. I love that promontory.
Not one more word! Next inmate that opens his mouth goes in the hole!
Great sequence. It's just so hard for me to watch Wade perform because I know him as a person, and it's just, my God, it's so believable, and he's such a badass. But if you know him as a person, he's just the complete opposite.
Here's 20 more bucks.
Yeah, I'm making a bankroll today.
It's funny, people, if I can tell that they've recognized me, they don't talk to me. They look at me, they're afraid of me.
So you're not the guy that they buy drinks for. That's like Sucre. They're throwing drinks at Sucre. And this is the first time that we see the behind the walls, right?
Oh, wow.
That's the real location. That's the actual crawl space behind the cells in Joliet. It smells terrible.
Could you get out of the prison if you went behind the walls in the crawl space? Is it possible? It's not. It is possible?
Yeah. I think you'd go up on the roof and you would run across the roof like he does in the next episode and then just get the hell out.
Everything all right?
Couldn't be better.
You want to come in? I just sat down to eat.
Is this dude getting a guilty conscience now? Not Kellum.
Hale?
Hale.
Yeah, well, he does. I think from the very outset, he expresses that, I thought this thing was over.
Right.
What's this?
That is a transfer request.
And one of the things we always do in Prison Break is the idea is that he completes whatever he needed to do this episode, and then at the very end you go, yeah, you thought you're out of the woods, but here's the final development that's even worse.
Yeah.
And that just happens again and again. I think that sustains the audience's interest.
Nice.